Can DJ Uiagalelei be the consistent quarterback that gets Florida State into the 2024 college football playoffs?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I'm your host, Brian Smith. Thank you to the everydayers that make this a great podcast and a lot of fun for me. You can find this podcast wherever you get your pods for free and on YouTube, part of the awesome Locked On Network, your team each and every day. You can get this podcast, like I said, wherever, but if you're on YouTube today, I'd really like your opportunity to post a comment, what you think about DJ in the passing game. I love discussing it. We're going to go into the stats real deep today. So here's the big box question, and this is the theme that you need to take away. Make your own opinion on this based on this question. Can DJ Uiagalelei be consistent? I can't say that word enough times. Can he be consistent enough to get them through games 1 all the way through 12 and be a reason that they won the game? Not just manage it. Be somebody that can carry Florida State on his back week after week. That's a yes or no. There's no in between. If you have to vote one way or the other, which way is it? Today, I'm going to break down Pro Football Focus stats with pass rush rate, some of the teams he did well against, some of the teams he didn't, concerns I have, etc., and then mix them in with what I saw based on the spring showcase. I know it's not a lot, but let's be honest, that's all we're going to get. Norvell isn't going to show you very much. They showed a little bit during this, but it was a scrimmage mixed in with some drills. And Florida State had guys out. So you take what you want from it. This is what we got. So here we go. The first thing that I want to note to you, I thought, and I brought this up on Saturday's show after the game, that his footwork looked a little better in the pocket. Very important. I think he's a guy that has big playability. Obviously, the arm strength's utterly ridiculous, but he doesn't always use the right level of ball, meaning line drive is level 1. Level 2 is you got a little bit of arc, trying to get it between two defenders, really hard pass. And then level 3 is you just put some air under it. Your guy's got the other guy beat. Let's let him run under it, not overthrow him. He can do any of them. He just doesn't always make the right decision. And that's part of this. But I saw more of the good news in the spring showcase than what I'd seen in a long time. And for two reasons, this makes me happy. Number one, he doesn't have a lot of familiarity with the receivers yet. It takes over a year. He's not even going to get the chance to do what he needs, honestly. You got to go through a couple of spring practices. Again, he's not going to be able to do that to get full reliance on younger players, etc. It's one thing for him to get along Benson, like he's going to be 4th year out of college or out of high school. That's different. He had that great pass down the left sideline that was tremendous. By all means, that's an NFL play by the DB, the receiver, and the quarterback. Great coverage. Receiver just won the battle, and DJ put it where it needed to be. Fantastic. But he also, again, we're talking about consistency, had the seam pass where he threw it over a player that shouldn't have been thrown to. He's completely covered, misread it, threw it too far, and then the safety just dropped an easy pick. That's the kind of play, and we'll get into the stats, that kills DJ and cannot happen for Florida State if they want to win like 11 or 12 games this year. Last year, Jordan Travis rarely beat the Noles. It's something that he overcame. It's another reason I'm doing this show in the manner I am. You've got guys like Hakeem Williams. You guys got Ja'Kai Douglas, Portier, etc., Williamson. You got guys that can run. If you just don't turn it over and you get it to them in short area space, it might be a 5-yarder or a 7-yarder. They're going to break tackles. They're going to make guys miss, and they're going to outrun guys to get to the end zone. Oh, and don't forget, like Jaywood Lucas, Toafili, etc., the screen game. Florida State's screen game could be elite this year. Don't turn the football over. Period. That's the concern, and that's why the consistency is iffy. So to that point, I want to give you a couple of overviews here on some stats. I got 7 games that he went through. I'm just going to kind of read them off. Take them however you want. And again, your objective is the same. Can he beat, this is a yes or no, the reason that they win games 1 all the way through 12 because he can carry them on their back and things, even against a lesser team, if they're struggling, can he have a drive that puts Florida State's foot down on the other team's throat and ends the game? Be the difference maker, not just a game manager. That's not good enough against elite teams. Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, Louisville, anybody they play that can beat you, that can score, he may have to be the difference. That's what this is about. I don't care about them beating a lower level ACC team if he throws for hundreds. Who cares? This is about the elite teams being included in this. And then if you do have a dud game, sometimes it happens where against one of those teams that goes 5-7 on the year, but they play good that day. Can he turn it on and be a dude and win you the football game? That's how you should look at it, in my opinion. If you got another way, go right ahead. But that's my perspective. So pass rush rate. This is what it is by Pro Football Focus, and all these stats, until otherwise noted, are from PFF. UCLA was number 1 in the nation last year. DJ and Oregon State went against them, and that team had a 91.5% success rate as a pass rushing team, meaning they just really caused havoc. You would think, well, that's probably one of his worst games. Actually, it wasn't. 14 out of 24, 58.3%, 266 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, to put things in perspective, UCLA had arguably the nation's best defensive player at end. He's going to go in the draft. Him and Jared Verse are going to be really high up there. That's impressive. Like something just clicked. DJ and his team was in sync. They ran the ball. They passed the ball. They got it going on. They did a great job. However, that's one game. That team was number 1 in the nation with pass rush rate. Again, 91.5%. That's absolutely ridiculously high. They had a game against San Diego State, not even a Power 5 team. Horrific pass rush. DJ stats were way different. That team was 131st in the nation, 59.8%. So he's got more time to throw it. Typically, you would think. But part of that is, did he make the right checks? Did he get them in the right place? So there's a lot of things that go into this. That there's not like an asterisk. There's like 5 on every play. It's just quarterback play is hard. But he was only 14 of 30, 46.7%. Did throw for 284, so he hit some big plays. 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Now, I didn't go back and watch this game to figure it out, but this much I know. That's not just a DJ problem. That team probably didn't show up the way they should have mentally. Every team has a game or two like that. You've probably heard the phrase, find a way to win your clunkers. They probably relied a little more on Damian Martinez. Obviously, the passing game was inept. Not hitting 50% against a team that is 131 out of 133 teams in pass rush success rate means your passing game was absolutely garbage that day. It's just true. So against the top team in the country and getting after the quarterback, he ate him up. Against a team that was almost bottom of the barrel, he laid an egg. That's what my concern is. And as Florida State fans, that should be your concern as well. You cannot have those situations. Going here in just a few seconds, we're going to talk about this, some of the other games, some of the other stats from last year, and why I think Saturday's game is such an important point, because some of the things that caused him problem with accuracy, decision-making, etc., he showed some signs of positivity, and that I like. That's next here on Locked On Seminoles. All right. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. It helps you find and hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites, just LinkedIn. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. 86%, here's a great stat, of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours on LinkedIn Jobs. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LinkedIn College. That's linkedin.com/LinkedIn College to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Did you notice when you were watching the spring showcase, or whenever you do get a chance to watch it, YouTube, whatever it may be, did you notice DJ's footwork and how calm he was in the pocket? During his freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years, whether he was at Clemson or Oregon State, there were too many times when I'd see him play and I'm like, this guy's not comfortable. You can tell he is not comfortable in the pocket. That's just not the way it works. And here's the big box thing with quarterback play, no matter the level. If you do not have the ability to consistently make throws when you're about to get blasted, yes, very unfriendly, but that's the game of football, then you will not be a big-time quarterback. Peyton Manning, Jim McMahon, Joe Theismann, anybody you can think of all the way back there and all the way to modern day, guys like Mahomes. Sometimes Mahomes gets blasted and he's throwing the ball sidearm because he can't get it over a 6'6" defensive tackle. He gets hit, but he still gets the ball. It's part of the deal. He looked a little more comfortable. Florida State's pass rush is good. That's something we'll talk about later this week, but I'm impressed with the defense. I think overall they're better than what I'd anticipated, and I already thought they were going to be a top 25 defense anyway. So they might be top 10 overall now. I was just thinking pass defense was going to be top 10. It might be overall. They're really talented. And they gave him a lot of fits because the pocket would collapse pretty consistently. And DJ still had some solid throws, even like the one Portier where he dropped it, the crossing route early in the scrimmage. It's right on the money. It guy's in his face. The deep shot down the left sideline to Malik Benson. You can't throw that ball really any better. And it was a money ball with the defender on him, back shoulder, hitting right above the belt. I'm like, to be honest, look, folks, that's about as dope as it gets. The question is, now can he figure that out and do those things when teams are throwing a whole bunch of looks at him, including, because this is going to happen, they're going to show a defense consistently early in a game that they haven't played all year. Why? Because it's Florida State. And although coaches will lie about this on their mother's grave, they are going to save stuff for special teams on the schedule that is a bigger splash if they win. That's just the way it is. Coaches lie at press conferences. You've heard me say that a lot. This is one of the things they lie about. We treat everybody the same. No, you don't. You're full of crap. They save stuff. When he sees that, it can be a problem. Kind of like the San Diego State game. That might be something that happened. They might have introduced a coverage that fooled him post-snap, and he just had an atrocious day. If that happens, he needs to adjust. And Florida State's coaching staff's responsible as well, along with the receivers, the O-line, the whole nine, to mesh and to get it done. Sometimes it's not easy, but it is what it is. Here's another example of that, and I give them all the credit in the world. Kalen DeBoer in Washington were offensive juggernaut last year. That's great. But they did play pretty well on defense, especially in clutch moments in big games. For instance, against Oregon, they beat them twice. Oregon had more talent. They went up against Oregon State, and Oregon State should have probably beat them, but they held DJ down. It's just the truth. He was the reason they didn't get the victory there and blow up their season. They lost 20-22. Washington had an 80.3 pass rush success rate. Pretty good. That was number 28 in the nation. DJ was only 15-31, 48.4%, 164 yards and 2 picks. He was terrible. He was terrible. Now, part of that, I'm sure, again, this is a team sport. There's no two positions more connected than quarterback and receiver. I'm not going to go through every throw. I saw some of that game. I watched some of that game. He wasn't that comfortable. Washington did a good job on the back end, etc. But he just wasn't as good as he needed to be. His feet weren't consistent like they were in the spring game, which, again, gives me a little bit of hope that he's progressing, as you would think. Tokarza and the group at Florida State are doing a good job with him. But I'm just worried about him, even if it's just one time this next season, struggling, it can be the difference between Florida State's passing game being good or great. And if you're just kind of good against Clemson or Miami or whatever, you can lose. Has to be consistent every single week that you play. So that's the theme. The last team that I want to mention, and it's kind of interesting on this, I don't know why this happens, but he just caught fire again. Cal was a pretty solid pass rushing team, 38th in the nation, 79% pass rush rate. Okay. These are the numbers for DJ. This shows you what he can do. These are not made up. These are not video game. One game against Cal, 19-25, 76%, 275 yards and 5 touchdowns. Those are Heisman numbers, period. Now, why did you do that? And then you sucked against San Diego State. I get Washington, they're pretty good, but that's Cal. It's still pretty good defense. He just absolutely obliterated them. Can somebody explain that to me? These are the things that drive coaches crazy. Their hair goes gray or it ends up like mine and you don't have money. So I'm really curious about it. Washington State and some of the other games, I could talk about those too. He had some good numbers, some bad numbers in games, but it was just the inconsistency. I keep bringing up the footwork. It looked better to me. And I was trying to watch a lot of things, so I'm not totally focused, but I went through the spring game again this morning, and I'm really curious, why in the world is it all of a sudden better beyond just him finally being comfortable, getting the right coaching, etc. But he had Jonathan Smith at Oregon State last year, too. That guy's a great football coach. He's the head coach now at Michigan State. He was a quarterback for Oregon State back in the day. Maybe DJ's just kind of starting to figure it out. So this gives me hope that they're headed in the right direction. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean it's always going to be that way, but it's also connected to this. forget all the stats for a second. DJ needs help from guys like Benson, just to use it to play again, the back shoulder fade. No two positions are connected, right? If Benson is healthy this season, and to my knowledge, for anybody asks, I don't know what his injury status is. Even if they say something, I'm not going to believe it until we get into the summer. We'll get more details, but I think he's healthy after the spring game by and large. Maybe it's an ankle sprain or something, but whatever. Here's the key. They need Hakeem Williams. They need different guys to step up. Jalen Lucas in the screen game, Tofili. They have a lot of different players to make this work. The big time throws, it's a great stat that Pro Football Focus does, usually a longer pass or a tight window, level 2, like over the linebacker in front of the safety. He had 4 of those against Cal. That's a pretty good number right there. He had 3 of them against Utah. Utah's defense is extremely well coached. He can make those throws. But can he do that again every week? That's the question for this podcast. Not 11 out of 12 weeks. 12 out of 12. Yes or no? If you want to give a subjective answer, that's fine, but the question is a yes or no. Do you think he's a guy that can carry Florida State this next season? It's not easy. So here's the other part before I go into the final section of this. I want to talk about my concerns and why I think he can be good. There are the 2 arguments on both sides, and then everybody can comment on YouTube and whatnot. Florida State's got an experienced offensive line, and their running back room is really loaded. The one thing that he proved yet again, and he's always been able to do this ever since he was in high school at St. John Bosco out in the Los Angeles area, he throws the deep ball well. DJ's got guys that can run. I had a buddy of mine call me a little bit ago, and he said, I watched Florida State spring. I was really impressed with their speed, blah, blah, blah. And he's right. You got guys like Williams. You got guys like Benson. You got Jalen Lucas can fly. Deuce Spann, etc. They got all kinds of guys that can run. Somebody's got to develop to be that number 2 guy. Hopefully, I think Benson will be 1, which is a good start. But if they can consistently catch the ball and do well with contested catches, those games against like Notre Dame or Clemson or whichever ones you want to pick will be much easier. At some point, you can only put the ball in front of them. They got to make a play when the other team's got an NFL-level player going up against your receiver. That's something. And then the running game with that offensive line, there should be more 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5s. I mean, like Sam Singleton would start at a lot of schools. He's going to be like 4th string at Florida State. Cam Davis, etc. I mean, they are loaded at running back. He just cannot screw it up again. Don't throw interceptions. Don't fumble it. Don't take sacks. He's been pretty good about throwing it away. If he continues to do that, DJ showed the ability to make some passes under pressure. If he continues to do that, Florida State has a great chance to win 10 games or more. There's too many other question marks with the portal still going on for me to get all into the answers for how many games they're going to win. I'm waiting till probably about June 1st, to be honest. All the portal stuff kind of be done because there's just too much. You can't do it as early as you used to. That's just part of the portal era, and I'm going to be smart and wait. But I think 10 wins or more is possible after what I've seen in conjunction with the defense if DJ can carry the water in big games. So with that, we're going to talk about some other key elements of the passing game and what Florida State has to do to be a team that makes the playoff right here at Locked On Seminoles. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on each and every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks on the app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. So I just briefly brought up some of the categories like making contested catches, etc. Here's the other part that I know this is really geeky football stuff, but like I brought up the San Diego State game, I'm guessing that with him to throw so poorly in that football game, they just weren't mentally ready, and I'm guessing San Diego State caught him off guard with something. Part of that, though, is still adjusting. If they're bringing blitzes that you're not familiar with, you got to figure it out on the sidelines the first chance you get to sit down and come up with something and then actually execute it. You're going to see everything thrown at Florida State this next year, whether it's a team that's not very good or a team like Georgia Tech has all summer to prepare. Their defense isn't great by any means, but they can score. You screw around if they get a couple of key drives defensively, or they get a turnover or stuff, they can outscore Florida State. I'm telling you, Haynes King's a good quarterback. Don't laugh. Georgia Tech has a chance to beat Florida State, especially in the first game with a new quarterback. You screw around in that game, it could end badly. Of course, it's over the pond. That doesn't help either. I don't know why they did that, but whatever. They want to play in Europe, that's their business. The point is still the same. Got to come out and be consistent. Line checks, running the football, which he's been good at, handing it off, letting that stable of backs be good. Being a leader sometimes mean taking away from your own stats and supplying it for the team. For the most part, I think DJ will do that. But this is his last year, and this is his last chance to show I have what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. If he does the right things, I think it'll be okay. He still needs to hit 60% or more of his passes. And with all the speed Florida State has, his yards per attempt should go up, touchdowns should go up, all those things. But he's going to be graded by the NFL and by Florida State fans alike by this simple category of winning games with decision-making. That right arm of his is ridiculous. Great. There are numerous guys with big-time arms that have been terrible for a very, very long time. He needs to figure out a way to not make the mistakes and whatnot. And looking at all the guys they have around, there's a couple of things to think about. Number one, they need to get a number 2 receiver. He needs to figure out somebody he's really comfortable with. Number 2, I think as a team, I mentioned earlier, the pass rush for the team is really pretty good, collapsing. I think the defensive tackle pass rush is better. They're going to get more turnovers, more sacks, better field position. I think that's going to lead to that big arm having a chance. When he gets an instant turnover, midfield, flip of the field, and they got a chance to hit a home run, he has to calculate it, figure out who's going to be the guy, know before the snap of the football, release it, put it in the breadbasket. It's got to be 6. Capitalize, be the reason, carry your team. And then third, Jalen Lucas, I think, is the most unique guy on offense. Not the greatest running back between the tackles, but in Norvell's system with the jet sweeps, the screens, the short passes. I mean, even guys like Jaheim last year as a tight end, he was used like a running back and a receiver. They'll find ways to get him the ball. He's got to be on the same page with him. You do that, Florida State's offense, even against teams that have really good corners, like Clemson and Notre Dame, they got some NFL guys. You have to be ready to find outlets and let them get in space and just do their thing. Do not force the ball like that seam pass that he had in the showcase. Terrible decision. Cannot happen against the Irish or the Tigers. That ball is going the other direction. If he just gets the guy like Toffoli and Lucas out and flat, it doesn't sound hard, and it's not. But sometimes you want to be the guy and just like force it into those tight windows over and over. You play around with that enough, the ball will go the other direction. Be patient. Don't turn the ball over and hit your check downs. Force the other team to take it from you. Don't give it to them. So with that, again, do you think he is the guy, DJ Uiagalelei, that can take the football, make the big plays in the big games 1 through 12 in particular, like the whole thing, but those games against Clemson, Miami, etc., are the ones he's going to be remembered for. If he can do that, if he carries them, Florida State can be a playoff team. They can win the ACC. Do you think, yes or no, he will be able to carry them in any given game, 1 through 12, and be that dude? And every game he's playing like it, even, they might take him out because they're killing somebody, but he did his part to be the main guy to get them to the top. Just something to think about. I think he has that capability. I need to see a little more from the portal before I know for sure, but he's trending in the right direction, and I was happy with how he performed for the most part in the spring showcase. He certainly looked better in the pocket and more comfort, and I'm happy with it. He's a little higher up on my board than when they first originally got DJ. So with that, spring's over. We're going to start talking about the schedule, talk about recruiting. There's a lot of transfer portal stuff coming up. Going to look at big box, like who Florida State's competing with, coming up here on this channel. Locked On Seminoles is going to have all kinds of stuff all the time, all the way up until the start of the season and beyond. So please, once again, hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to this podcast. And when you get a chance, please ask questions and comment on YouTube. Everybody have a great one. Take care.